So every year we do a tour, and it's of course it's a little bit different because every year EA adds on to it and adds on to the staff. Sometimes different.
Even if you've seen it before, it's always exciting to go back and see the tour of things they have accomplished since we've not been there.
You know, Beth and Tristan, and all of those, they're like family, and they do such a great job at what they do. And so, you know, everything's going to be good when you get there. You know, everything that you have heard about, they've been that they're doing it. They're starting projects, they're completing projects, but really just like the family atmosphere. And we've been going so long now that everybody loves us, we love them, and it's just kind of like a reunion.
Because really, El Ayudante was founded in 2004, which is really not that long ago. To think about.
The tour to me is one of my favorite things, just because if you think back from trips past, you can just see how God has grown and grown. You know, they got a backhoe there. I mean, when the first trip we went, to say that there was going to be a backhoe there would be like saying Santa Claus was going to be there when we got off the plane handing us presents. In the mornings at El Ayudante, the time that we spend prior to breakfast and work, we spend with God and His Word and in a devotional.
Like this year, it was a little different for me. I was up early every morning. I was ready to pray and study. And
it's like there's no TVs aren't on, cars aren't running around.
You don't have all the hustle and bustle that you have here when you wake up. When we wake up here, we have to get up, and the alarm clock goes off. We get up and we're just on the go from daylight till dark.
When you go on a mission trip, all you have to do is serve Jesus, and that's all you think about. And so it's just so much easier to get up, get ready, eat, and have your coffee and fellowship and sit with the Lord and hear from the Lord, because there's no distractions.
In the morning, there's no noise, and when you're in a house here with a bunch of kids trying to get everybody ready, there's noise all the time. And so to be able to go outside, and it's just completely peaceful. So you're looking at the mountains, you're sitting in this beautiful valley.
Just look out over the scenery and just enjoy the view that God has made.
Alone by yourself, listening, you feel like you get so close to God, you can almost touch Him while you're there.
Well, good morning. Happy Monday here from El Ayudante. It's the first day we're going out and hitting the streets. We're going to head way up the mountain into the community of Cañas. And today is actually the first day we're laying block on a new project in the community of Cañas. And that is that we're building them a kindergarten classroom. So today we're gonna all head up together, and we're gonna mix mortar, we're gonna lay block, and together we're gonna make this community's dream of having a kindergarten classroom a reality.
this year we went farther up the mountain than we ever have, to my knowledge. It felt like we were never going to get there. But we got to see some really cool things this year. Of course, all the friendly Honduran people, everybody waves at you. Everybody's very friendly.
You see people walking that have been walking for miles, probably just coming down the mountain to go to the doctor or to someone's house or school. A lot of them walk to school, walk to church. You see a lot of them on motorcycles with their whole family.
But the tragedy, they had a mudslide a while back, but the aftermath of that was what I thought was just some really cool looking waterfalls and getting to travel so far up the mountain.
Really rough roads, rough terrain, like we would see the roughest back road here at home.
Or not having to ride in the bed of the truck and getting to ride in the cab was a big deal because I felt for everybody in the back.
Well, the school buildings, if I were to describe them, are very simple. Kind of like you build a shop here. Just block walls, concrete floors. They don't have windows and air conditioners. They don't have anything like that.
You may see the kids playing out in grass that was almost knee-high, but it didn't faze them at all.
What we would describe as nice and comfortable and a good learning environment and things like technology, there's none of that in their school building. The new building that we're making it because they don't have a kindergarten class, and so we started laying the block for that. And we had the Hondurans laying them. We pay them by the day, so they'll make money, and we mixed mortar and toted block.
We take and with the shovel, not with the mixer, sand, concrete, water, and so you take the sand and the water, you take your shovel, you move the pile here, move the pile there.
The girls would fill the holes on the block to make sure the top part had the mortar in them. It's a hard day's work. It's a hard process, and it's heavy. And the Hondurans work right with you. Your translators work right with you.
You couldn't get that many people to come help around here like that because everything would just have to be perfect.
To me, it is a lot of hard work, but it's also, in those situations is when you really build strong bonds with the people you're there with the Honduran people. Hard work ain't never hurt anybody, and it does nothing but good for you while you're there.
Past the house and the smoke coming out of the chimney, it just made my mind start going and thinking about they were probably cooking supper, and the only thing that they had was rice, beans, and tortillas. And it really made me think of the times at home where we're so spoiled from the lifestyles that we have. It may be that we get ready to cook dinner, breakfast, lunch, whatever it is, and we look at each other and say, what are we going to have? Well, it don't matter. Those people are blessed in so many other ways, but just to see the smoke coming from their cook stove, that possibly all they have is coffee or just rice or just beans. They don't have the choices that we have, and it just really makes you think back of how great our life is here.
Happy Tuesday! This morning we're going to go out to one of our local schools and do our first day of VBS. The kids are so excited because we only get to each of the schools one time a year. So in the VBS this morning, we're going to share scripture with the kids. We're going to play games. We're going to do a craft and invest in these kids' lives, encouraging them to seek Jesus in a deeper way.
Nice to have you this week with us. I'm really excited for working with you for VBS and Family Night. I just want to remind you a couple of stuff before we leave.
The morning of VBS, it's great when everybody comes together out in the front yard of EA to talk about what's going to go on, and the excitement of the staff really resonates and comes into our team also.
Who's ready for VBS?
That first morning going into it, knowing that you get to see the same kids that you've always been with, the same teachers.
And as you get to the school, you start seeing the students running out or sitting in the class if they're in class. And the joy that they have, the ones that you've never seen or the ones that you have seen.
It's almost like you never left the last time, you know what I mean? It's like you build a bond with these people who don't even speak the same language as you.
Buenos días.
My name is Matthew.
Mi nombre es Matthew.
I am the pastor of Missionary Grove Baptist Church.
Yo soy el pastor de la iglesia misionera Missionary Grove.
We're glad to be here with you.
Estamos alegres de estar aquí con ustedes hoy.
We're going to have a lot of fun.
Vamos a divertirnos mucho.
Let's learn about Jesus.
Vamos a aprender de Jesús.
We're going to play games.
Vamos a jugar.
Have some good food.
Vamos a tener buena comida.
EA does such a good job, helping us set everything up, and we always have it all planned out. Each of the team members have a different job. So Chelsea helped and Tiara helped with some craft stuff that had nothing to do with any of our team members, but they were willing to help us.
Me and Matt actually got what I feel like was the better end of the deal. We just got to hand out snacks, and we actually had a great time doing that. But we also got to we got to talk to the kids. We got to come up with Bible verses, and you got to come up with movements to memory, and we had a good time. So we got to move and we got to eat, and there's only one of those things that I love.
No? So let me tell you about Joshua.
Pues les contaré un poquito sobre Josué.
Joshua was a young man
Josué era un hombre joven,
who God chose
quien Dios escogió
to lead the children of Israel.
para liderar a todos los hijos de Israel.
To be able to do simple crafts and games and songs that we do with them, the joy that they have and the spirit that they have. I don't know that I can see any kids having as much enjoyment from the simple things in life that we do with them. And the enjoyment of you just have to experience it.
They're preaching the good news, but you want to make sure that they're soaking it in too. Kids are not like adults. You have to grab their attention and get a hold of them, and So you just want to do good. So it's excitement and it's a little nerve sometimes.
After VBS, Mike did the filter training with us. Even though this will be our 5th time, it was great to recap on what needs to be done.
Seeing how the rocks and sand and all that actually filter their water and help purify it so that they're able to stay healthier and hopefully make a big difference in it.
There's 4 main layers to your water filter. The very bottom layer, there's large rocks. We'll pass these around so you can kind of see it. That's the base. It's the plug. Make sure that the hole at the bottom, the water can flow through it.
On Tuesday night, we had a kind of a combined service. Used to, we would do a family night and then we would do a church night. But this year when we went, they combined them both.
You not only get to see the kids during the day, but then you get to see them with their families at night.
Pastor Jessica's, that community's, that just, they mean a lot to me. And we have helped build that church up from the ground up with the roof, the paint, and the windows. And it's just really a close-knit little community there that they watch over each other, and they have invited us back several times that we've got to go.
We thank God for having us here this afternoon.
Esperamos que todo lo que se vaya a realizar en esta tarde y noche pues sea para bendición de cada familia.
We hope that everything that we are going to do this afternoon, it will be a blessing for each one of us.
We are thankful for all of you.
Estamos muy agradecidos por cada uno de ustedes.
And Pastor Jessica.
Y por la pastora Jessica.
And we've been coming here for several years now.
Hemos estado viniendo aquí por varios años.
So it's nice to see the children that have grown up.
Es bueno ver a los niños que están pequeñitos ahora que ya van creciendo.
So thank you for letting us be a part of your life.
Probably one of the most amazing nights there. You see the families come together.
Did all kinds of different little they set up stations and do games. We did a memory verse game that was really neat. The rain came down.
Y descendió lluvia. Y descendió lluvia.
The streams rose.
Y vinieron ríos.
Just a big smile of happiness, and they're enjoying it.
Oh, papi!
Cinco!
Ah, we caught him sleeping.
Llega el pavo.
It seems like the older they are, the more they enjoy it. The grandparents, it's amazing to see the older ladies, even though they're in dresses, to run and try to grab a rubber chicken.
But we had these kids that were sitting there with these construction hats on. You know, I'd ask the question, they slapped that buzzer. Boy, they was having a big time and laughing. But when they knew it, boy, they was quick to hit it. And then if they didn't hit it, and this one got it before this one did, and they would yell the answer out. And several of them knew a whole lot about the Scripture. I think Pastor Jessica's done a good job teaching them the Word, and you know, their congregation is mainly women and children. But this year when we went back, there were several men that were there. So in Honduras, one of the things that's lacking in the church is men stepping up to lead and be the example.
David.
Sí. Adam and Eve not to eat off of. De que Dios le dijo a Adán y Eva que no.
Nombre, dado a los hombres.
just amazing to see and feel the spirit that's inside of those churches. We're so blessed to be there and see how God is working in another country, a third world country, not just at home.
They don't have music. They make the music with their hands and their voice.
It's wonderful if you just just listen to. I don't have a clue what song they're singing, but just being in that presence of everybody, and it's just a very cool experience.
All I ever do is preach and talk about what I've been through, so I always try to give the men and women on the trip the opportunity to preach and teach and do their testimonies. So this year, Cliff did it, and Cliff did the testimony part, and he had never done anything like that, but he did a really good job, and just kind of talked about what he had been through and how he found Jesus, and did a real good job. He was nervous, and because it's the first time he's ever done it, but one thing I tell all of them is you just got to trust the Holy Spirit more than you trust yourself, and you study, you put in your time, you think about it, but once you get up there, God's going to take care of you because you're doing it for His glory. And same way with Chris. Chris did a good job preaching this year. Usually Corey preaches, but this year Chris preached, and he did a real good job too. And he said, this is the first time I've ever done this, so I'm excited about the future for both of them. Just because when we get out of our comfort zone and do things like they did in Honduras, that usually translates to you being more bold and doing more things like that when we come back home. So, we go over there to help people, but it helps us as much or more in the spiritual realm when we come back to be able to do the things God's called us to do.
And I just got one more question for you. Who's ready for second day of VBS? Okay, ready, let's go. We have vehicles available so we can start loading up, please.
So the second day of VBS, we did a different story. We have basically the same music, but we do a different craft. And the kids just loved, when we showed up that day, they were saying, Tiffany, Tiffany, and all the other names of the team members. And so they're just super excited for us being there, and they really enjoyed that time.
In the back of your head, it's the last day of VBS, so you're trying to, I don't want to say, leave your mark on them, because we're not there for us, we're there to glorify God, but you want to make sure that, you really drive the point home today, because you're not going to see them again for a year, which is to see them, being my 4th trip, to see them grow each year and to see the same kids every year is so cool to just get to experience that. So not only do we have a church family here where we get to watch each other's kids grow, but then we also have that back in Honduras, and to see that is so cool. But also to only get to see them for a couple days is heart-wrenching, because it's going to be a whole nother year before you get to experience them again.
Oh. He said that he's a kid.
Margie, ahí se te cayó el tapón.
Se sienta. Eso, qué bonito.
Oh, wow.
Hagan la fila. Eso, sí. Sí. Bien. Muy bien.
Me va a dar milón adelante.
Busquen dónde sentarse. Por favor, siéntense.
Así que toda la gente que estaba en el pueblo
Went to the king,
fueron ante el rey
and he said, King, we want you to live forever.
y les dijo, rey, queremos que tú vivas para siempre. Buena ley. Ya vamos a ver.
My name's Stephanie, and I've lived in Honduras for 15 years, and I've been working in the community of La Isla for 8 years, and I teach English here at the school, and I enjoy being with the kids and encouraging them and teaching them about Jesus and just seeing them grow over the years.
When we left, they like surround the vans and whatever we're driving in, and just really just show so much excitement. So it was so exciting for us. But we have gotten to see a lot of these children grow up, and so it's just such a blessing to get to see them and know that they're doing well and their families are well. So we were able to kind of see how old they were, and just kind of we're building relationships. So next year we'll go to the same place and meet those same kids, and they're always looking forward to that.
So after VBS, the second day, several of us went and did a latrine.
Basically, what a latrine is an outdoor. It's an outhouse, either way you look at it.
So in the back of your head, you have to carry all your shovels, all your tools, the gigantic 80-pound bags of concrete to wherever you're going. So part of that is when you get there, you don't know if you're going to walk up a hill, you don't know if you're going to walk down a hill, you don't know if the truck's going to be able to back right up to it. Typically, that's not how it works. Typically, you're walking something up and down a hill. The pastor actually of the community we were in had dug the hole. Him and a couple of guys dug this, I got to figure, 20-foot deep hole. And so all of us, that whole time with the pastor there, and a very cool experience.
Building it and watching the family after it was built and how excited they were, that made my day. I mean, it was pretty awesome.
So you have kids?
¿Tienen hijos? Sí.
How many?
¿Cuántos? 9.
9.
I have 3 children and 7 grandchildren.
7 nietos. I'm in the video.
On top of that.
So we were walking back up the hill with all our tools and the bags of concrete. Of course, you look to your right, and there's Cliff with his camera playing with the horse. Every time, or whatever it was, every time we go somewhere, it seemed like when the work started is when the camera started shooting. I'm just saying.
Pastor Peter does a great job at Lenahe. He's very excited. The way he delivers the message is fiery.
A true just like Edom song.
The music's loud, and you know, all those combinations for me are good. The loud preaching and loud music, and but the Spirit of God is there. They've worked really hard. They were in a really small building for a time, didn't have any room, so now they've trusted God, and they're in a huge warehouse building.
She preaches with the same enthusiasm, or interprets in the same enthusiasm as he was preaching, so it's easy to get into it, even though we don't necessarily understand it when he says it, but she has the same enthusiasm.
They do a good job.
I wanted to pray. I wanted to know the God that my mother and my father.
It's not rehearsed, which is amazing because it just shows how much God uses those type of churches in Honduras for missionary people. You know what I mean? Because that's such a cool experience to see that back and forth. That's one of my favorite parts, is to hear him preach and hear his wife, and it's very cool.
Yeah, I enjoyed it myself. I mean, it was something different. Never been to something like that as far as that goes. I mean, it was an experience. I really enjoyed it.
One of the ways EA does a good job of getting you into homes so you can meet people and evangelize them is water filters.
Getting to provide something so simple, such a simple system that changes people's lives like you wouldn't imagine.
Being able to go into the houses and install them a fresh water system was a pretty good experience. I mean, to see the smile on their faces knowing they had fresh water, it was a pretty good experience.
And so we go in and we give them water filtration systems. They pay about $10, so they'll have some buy-in on it. We want them to use it and be thankful for it and not abuse it or anything. And then they just talk to us. Some of us are working, and then a lot of times Tiffany's talking to them.
Every time I've ever been in someone's home, they're always so humble and so kind and so thankful for what you're doing.
There's all different kinds.
Hay rosadas.
Just really perfection. For example, if one side is larger than the other side.
Every house would pray with them. We'd give them a Bible. Later that day, we went to another farmer to his house and did an installation there. And Cliff and I actually talked to the family at that house. And, just they show you everything. They wanted us to see their avocados and their oranges and everything that they were growing.
It's a lemon.
Is it a lemon?
You show yourself to him.
Que te le muestres a él.
We pray in the name of Jesus.
God, I pray that they'll always live for you.
Yo os pido y oro para que siempre vivan a través de ti.
Yeah, there was a lot of people who had different ways of praying while we were there. Things kind of unorthodox.
So we all prayed in a different way. Some people would avoid praying for food, some people would pray, and some of us would just fall asleep. And so that would be, every time somebody would fall asleep, that we would just say they were praying. So we got plenty of shots of people's chins and their belly buttons.
Hi, my name is John Hovestow. My wife Helen and I were the administrators of the clinic here. We've been in Honduras going on 14 years and in with El Ayudante now 9. So we were here when we started the clinic, and everything that we've done here has really been God showing His handiwork in what we're doing. So we have 15 staff. We have general medicine. We have dental, pharmacy, lab, and one of the most important parts that we have, I think, in the clinic is we really have a pastor that tracks the spiritual care of every person. So we help people physically and spiritually.
One of the things we do when we're there is concrete floors. So Friday morning we went to a house not far from EA, just in the next community over. What we found there was a mother with a few small children, and they were all sick. And so the reason we do concrete floors is because it reduces the issues they have in their digestive systems and disease and bacteria and all that by some 86%. And so when we wouldn't think about it, we think, well, you know, is a concrete floor isn't a big deal, but it is. It's a huge deal because you can disinfect it, you can clean it, you can keep it clean. But the issue there is there's no concrete plant, there's no concrete trucks, there's no concrete mixers. There's just us, missionaries. And so we were taking these bags of cement, and then we'd make like a volcano-looking hole, and then we would put 3 wheelbarrows full of sand in them. And then we would put 5-gallon buckets of water, and we would take our shovels and we would mix that. And so we poured a whole house floor by hand, a 1 wheelbarrow at a time, in just about 4 hours. And it's the hardest work I've ever done, bar none. And I've hauled hay, I've worked construction, I've cut tobacco, I have done about everything you can do that's manual labor and hard labor, and I don't know that I've ever worked any harder than I worked there. But it's worth it, because hopefully, when she was already thinking about furniture and all these things that she was going to put in her house when they got it, when it wasn't a dirt floor anymore, and she was just so excited. And hopefully her kids are well now, she can keep it clean and keep it nice. One thing they do well is after we help them, they keep it nice. They keep it clean. They appreciate what you've done. And we were just thankful to be able to do it for her and her family.
This is an important prayer I just taught you. Oración importante que les acabo de enseñar.
But there's a prayer that's more important.
Pero hay una oración que es más importante.
Do you know what it is?
¿Saben cuál es?
No? It's called the sinner's prayer.
Se llama la oración del pecador.
Have you ever heard of it?
¿Alguna vez han escuchado esa? So, entonces.
The Learning Center is a very important part of what EA does. So they have found that by talking to community leaders that they needed ways to further the education of the children. So we do the Learning Center, and this year it was for 5th graders. We had a time where Matt spoke, and then we had a craft, and the craft was about taking your family to church. So we got to talk to them about taking their families to church, and if they go to church, if they don't go to church. And he also gave an invitation, just kind of shared Christ and said that we would talk to them about anything that they had questions on. But those same kids are there every week. And then afterwards, they played soccer. Soccer's a big thing in Honduras.
Played a full-blown soccer game. So some of us that didn't feel like we were too old to be out there joined in, and it was super fun. All the kids got into it. Even some of us got into it to the point we were knocking each other around a little bit. And
I guess it was like kind of like a comedy reel, seeing us grown men out there playing, getting whooped up on by a bunch of kids in a game of soccer. I mean, it was memorable though. We enjoyed it. We really did. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't breathe.
Re-entry training is always a thing we look forward to because we get to spend time with John and Helen. We're the only team that gets to go to their house for supper on re-entry just because we've formed such a bond and a relationship with them. They tell stories about how missions changes your life, and in re-entry training, how that when you go back to America, you're going to feel all these weird feelings and nothing's going to feel the same as it used to feel, and that you're going to be a changed person, and you have to figure out how to re-enter the society you live in, because everybody there is going to be doing the same thing they've always done, and they're not going to understand what you've seen. And so you have to go back in with the right attitudes and be able to really try to convey what you've seen and try to invite other people to go with you, because if not, you'll get really frustrated, because in America, we're in the top, when I said 97% of wealth, and people just take it for granted. We buy and sell and do and go, and we take no thought of anything. And where we go, they have to think about everything. They're making $6 a day, and they might not live if the harvest is bad, and they got children, no medical attention, and all these things going on. And so it almost offends you to come back to your home, because you've seen such poverty, and then you come back to such carelessness, really, and you just think, I don't know if I can live in this. It's what you think. And so it's really hard. It's really hard to come back. During re-entry training, they tell these stories, but this year was a little different. When they got done telling the stories, John and Helen, who we have tremendous respect for, they're spiritual giants in the faith, they said, we're going to do something that we've never done before for you. And it was really humbling, because they washed our feet. They got a pan of water, they got a towel, and they brought it in there, and they got down on their hands and knees, and John washed the men's feet, and Helen washed the women's, and it was something that we'd never experienced before, because we look at missionaries as heroes, as giants in the faith. We look at them as, just super close to Jesus, and but they're so humble that they would wash our feet, and when I felt like I should have been washing their feet. And so it was just a moment where heaven touched earth that night, and it's a moment that I'll never forget. And it probably was the best part of re-entry training, because it humbled us in such a way that we could come back to where we're at and not cause issue, but invite people to come with us on the journey next time. I would encourage everyone to figure out how to go on a mission trip, or to be on mission, to go into all the world and preach the gospel to every living creature. We've got to figure that out.